Welcome to the Foreign Lady Podcast. Okay, that was terrible. I know. But anyway, this is the Foreign Lady Podcast. Hope you enjoy. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Foreign Lady Podcast. I'm your host, Elizabeth.
And the bottom line.
And we are back with another episode for you today. On today's episode, we are going to be covering what everybody is talking about today. Shannon Sharp and his lawsuit. And then we're going to get into Tracy Ellis Ross and how people are, comparing the double standards, and then sort of lead into the topic of how young is too young to date. Like, should men of a particular age be dating younger women? And now it brings up the question of, should women of a particular age be dating younger men? And the double standard of it being allowed for women, but not men. So we're going to cover that topic today. It's a big topic. So that's, we gotta dive in. We gotta dive straight in. So let's do it. Shannon Sharp has, stepped down from ESPN, and I didn't even know this, but apparently he tried to settle with her initially for $10 million, which is wild to me, because I'm like, if you're not, okay, I should know this because I work in the legal field, right? But it's my personal opinion. So is based nothing on my professional opinion. So do not take this as a professional opinion. If you try to settle, like, a settlement agreement isn't necessarily saying you're guilty, right? But in situations like this, I mean, look, we've had, we've had people settle because they just don't want the PR nightmare. They don't want things perceived about them that aren't true. Like, they just don't want the hassle. So they'd just rather pay for it and make it go away and retain their reputation than anything else.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying that this is an admission of guilt on his part, but he did try to settle with this woman for $10 million. If that was me, I'm fighting like Jay-Z did. I'm fighting this if I knew I did not do anything wrong. What are your thoughts on this? And should he have known better?
Well, he definitely should have known better. That's not even up for debate. At his age, at her age, like, he held all the cards. Mm-hmm. And the thing is, he was in a position to lose the most. You got to think about that when you're any kind of person in a position of power, wealth, and fame, that you have a lot to lose. And I could understand wanting to settle because of this, because your reputation, however, that is hard to rebuild once it's been stained.
Right.
Look at just Jonathan Majors and what he's lost. Like, imagine for a moment if he settled quietly out of court, he would still become the conqueror, have those Marvel deals, and that would open up things even further. So I can understand wanting to settle and keep it quiet and leave it alone like that. But some people might, if they're in that headspace, they don't care about the money. They didn't do anything wrong. I'm innocent. I want to get this out the way. I want to get it over with. So I don't think the settlement necessarily means anything.
Now there's audio have come out, text messages have come out, some nasty stuff that we're not going to repeat here. But if you want to check it out, it's literally floating everywhere online. There was some negotiations with ESPN where he was doing contract negotiations for $100 million. That's obviously in jeopardy because, as most of you know, a lot of these contracts have a morality clause. And so basically, if you do anything that they deem inappropriate or will make the company look crazy, it's bye-bye. Yeah. So I'm just going to read some of the statements that Shannon Sharp made. He did a video, he did a whole video apologizing to his family, basically saying that this is a shakedown, and he is stepping down from his ESPN commitments. basically trying to leave before they fire him type situation, taking a break, and then he'll be back for it's football season, right? Or football
Mm,
season is about to start.
yeah.
So I guess whenever football season starts, he'll be back. But this is just what I wanted to read. So this is the statement. It says, and I'm reading it off of CNN. So he basically said, "I will be devoting this time to my family and responding and dealing with these false and disruptive allegations set against me. I plan to return to ESPN at the start of the NFL preseason," basically saying that he is thankful to his family, friends, fans, and colleagues for their support. And following the announcement, ESPN came out with a statement and said, "This is a serious situation, and we agree with Shannon's decision to step away." Shannon Sharp is now 56 years old. And in the civil complaint, like I talked about, he is being accused of violently SAing this woman, Ring her. And there are two things here. What do you think about the allegation? And then that spun off another conversation with the internet where how young is too young for a man to date a woman? To me, this is crazy. But I'll let you. What do you think?
Most of this, I want to say no comment.
You can't say
um,
no comment. It's about like this is our
right,
show.
right. I want to say no comment on a lot of this because I feel like it's still too fresh.
Hmm.
There's more information that needs to come out. I mean, I don't know much about the victim other than the fact that she's young. Part of me kind of feels for him because it's like this is happening during a crucial moment where he's making this $100 million deal, and that's when these allegations come out. And then it kind of just makes you think about the last few black men where something similar happened as their career made this crucial turn. You know, I think of Jonathan Majors, like at this critical moment, suddenly this accusation comes out. And there was a video, I think it was by Hot Hype News, where they talked about the downfall of several black men in similar cases, right? When they were at the peak of their career. But then again, it's like the story of Diddy being a cautionary tale. You know, Diddy swore up and down, these were false, this never happened. But then we saw the video of Cassie in the hotel and he was just manhandling her.
Hmm.
So now I'm sort of on the side of, let's very much hear the victim out. I still very much believe innocent until proven guilty. We need all the evidence we could get. Um, but I do want to hear more about the victim because Shannon is in a position of power. You know, this is a much younger woman. At her age, she's much more impressionable. She can be pressured. You know, these are things that can happen. And I would say when these situations come about, I'm always thinking to myself, men should learn. Like we've had enough cases where men should be like, listen, I'm
I'm
not
not messing with this.
yeah, I'm not messing with this. Even and the funny thing about this was they went back to some of Shannon's old interviews with like Monique and Cat Williams
You try to warn
and how
him.
and trying to warn him like find yourself a wife, settle down. You
Find
know,
an appropriate aged woman and
yeah,
settle down. He brought this on himself. At 53 years old or whatever age he is, you should know to not put yourself in a situation like this.
yeah. Because if you can imagine, let's say everything this girl said is made up. Let's say if that's the case, it would still come out you were still dealing with a 19-year-old.
Hmm.
That would still be something on your resume. You know, like that backlash would still harm you, harm your family. So I can understand why he wants to just pay it off and move forward. Like,
Yeah.
does he have? I don't think he's married, right? He's definitely not married or
No,
anything.
he's not married, but he has kids from
Yeah, I
different
could.
women. I didn't even know that. Like,
Yeah,
so he has multiple baby mamas. Um, but yeah, he does have children.
yeah, I could imagine him not wanting this to get out for the sake of his children, for the sake of future deals. And sometimes I really wonder with these kind of situations, why not go back to a baby mama? Like for real. Like if you have children with multiple women, shouldn't one of them be available if you need it? You know?
Like if I mean, you're not wrong. Like,
Yeah, because I mean, I'm sure there's a reason y'all can't be together, but at the same time, you guys kids together. There was some kind of spark there. There was something there that y'all could have a kid together, raise them,
yeah.
and not that I'm encouraging that behavior, but it's better than being accused, you know.
And finding women on OnlyFans. Apparently, she had an OnlyFans and or
Yeah,
nothing wrong with OnlyFans, right? But I'm just saying, if you are a high profile man, your dating pool should not be OnlyFans. I'm just saying.
yeah, yeah. So I'm like, like I take a look at a guy like Nick Cannon, who is not somebody I'm encouraging to follow, but it seems to me that he doesn't have to go to the gym and meet a 19-year-old because he has his baby mamas who he's had children with back and forth. So to me, it seems like hopefully he stays out of that kind of trouble. So
Yeah.
knowing Shannon Sharp has multiple children with different women, like they should one of them should be available for you.
Stop hanging
Yeah,
around these young people, young girls. Stop chasing young girls and go find someone who's appropriate for you.
yeah. Because at this point in your life, you are old enough, wise enough, you have enough resources to know when to say no. Like I'm not doing this.
Agreed.
You should be able to have discipline in yourself to be like, this is only going to end up going wrong because even if things go right, let's say she never made any claims, but the relationship came out, it would still sound iffy because she's still 19.
Mm-hmm.
It will still sound wrong because she's so young. I mean, like more than young enough to be your daughter.
Oh yeah.
And it's like, Shannon, what were you thinking? Like you've seen enough high-profile men be taken down by something like this. I would be. I'm now scared to have success. If I have to be honest, right? Like I would just be so scared if it were me. Like I just couldn't see it happening. But the thing with Shannon too is like there's some things he says that kind of shows he is down for stuff like this. Like
I
when he
mean,
had
do you remember the him live streaming?
that, I was just about to say like that leak. I'm like,
Yeah,
you accidentally let that happen.
exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly. He should know better. He's a 56-year-old man.
yeah,
And at that age, and as successful as you are, you should be aware that you have a lot to lose if things
yeah.
go sideways. And the fact that you do not have the brain or the common sense to protect yourself from situations like this is just baffling to me. And
Hmm.
that your team around you is not protecting you from situations like this is also baffling to me.
Yeah,
Not that they can control you as a grown man, that's your choice. But at the same time, it's like we've seen so many powerful men go down because of situations like this. There's just no excuse. We don't know if this is true or not. So we're not saying that these allegations are true or whatever. Like, that's not what we're saying. But what we are saying is you should have never been able to put yourself in this kind of position for it to happen.
yeah. Definitely between the two, Shannon is the one who should have known better. And the
Yeah,
thing is, even with
yes.
this team, I doubt he could keep it secret. I think somebody would have told him, like, bro, like this is going to be the one that ruins you. Like
This
somebody would
ain't
have said
good.
it. Um, and the thing about certain people, because not too long after, certain text messages came out, things she was saying about wanting a big black baby inside of her, that kind of stuff.
I mean, those text messages are crazy.
It kind of tells me that her nature was being revealed long before this. Like some people, it's like if this is a shakedown, as he's saying, that nature was revealed to you long before. There were
And you
signs.
there were signs, and you still kept messing with her,
Yeah,
knowing this.
yeah. So at that instant, you should have started making your way out of that relationship, distancing yourself. And this is why again I say we got to keep in mind innocent till proven guilty. And I see those messages, so I want to give Shannon some grace. But then there's audio,
Yeah,
another one
there
where
is.
he is very aggressive in his language towards her. He mentions choking very clearly, and I'm like, bro, you're making this really hard for yourself.
Right.
And some parts of the message sound sarcastic, some parts sound very um like he means it.
It's very serious. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's one part where he talks about choking her, being a big black man who chokes a small white woman in public. And that part I could say was sarcastic, but you went into detail with that, which kind of
Hmm.
just, again, that was a red flag for me. You
Yeah.
know, again, Shannon, at your age,
You should know at your
you
big
should
age.
know better
You should
to
know
say
better.
anything like this over the phone. You should know better than to say any kind of language like that. Anything that could come back to bite you. You should have been well aware of this. But
Hmm.
then another part of me asks, why does this keep happening? Because there's probably a culture amongst entertainment where this is normal and regular.
Of
The
course.
only way this can keep happening and no one learned their lesson is that so many of the people are already doing it, you
And
know,
getting away with it,
and getting away
apparently.
with it.
And have gotten away with it for so
Yeah.
long.
That's why it's like, like sometimes it's like when you watch those TV shows and those movies, it's like um it could be cases where the woman already had her eyes on you, right?
Yeah.
She was always trying to uh meet you on your path and somehow set you up. I could believe that side of the story. Some of it is set up, with people who are up and coming and successful. They plan to get you. It was kind of like, remember the show The Game.
Yes. Yes.
There's
Yes.
that
I
episode
remember.
where like the groupies would try to trap the NFL players in pregnancy. They would deliberately try to do that. So I could believe that there's a culture where they try to trap some of these men, and also there's that culture where some of these men they reach a level of success where they're not used to hearing no anymore. They're used to just
Mm,
getting their way, and they don't even think this is wrong anymore because they're so used to people just saying yes. Because I would look at it this way: we're not talking about the average successful man. We're talking about a former football player. We're talking about rappers, people in entertainment.
true.
So if you're a woman getting involved with some of these men, you shouldn't be surprised by some of their lifestyle. And they're
Okay.
not really going to be loyal. Don't expect them to be monogamous. So again, if you have a child with that woman, it doesn't work out. Again, I'm like, why not go back to that woman from time to time? Because she had to know the world she was entering into.
Right.
She wasn't going to be able to keep you all to herself. And then again, you could kind of be honest, like, hey, I know we didn't work out, but I need to stay out of trouble. Are you free?
Are you?
Are you available? You know what I'm saying? Like, I'll take you on that trip you've been asking to go to, that kind of thing. Like,
Mhm.
I'm not encouraging it, but that to me is a much safer deal,
Right.
a safer arrangement to have than to deal with somebody you don't know, who's young, who's crazy. At least go to somebody you could say, you know what, at least with you, I know what I'm getting into. There's no surprises.
Yeah. Kind of like the saying, the devil you know is better than the one you don't.
Exactly. Because if
Yeah.
it came out that he was just messing with, one of his former lovers or the mother's children, nobody would really think
Question it.
about that. Yeah.
Right. 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 That's a great point. I didn't even that's an excellent point.
Yeah.
Yeah. More men should do that. They
Yeah.
they should, instead of putting themselves into situations like this one, they you know what? You are completely I you have won me over for the first time. I I agree
just
with
the
this.
just the first time you admitted.
It's a great point and a great idea. I just don't know if it's in theory it could work for everyone. That's
And the
all.
funny the funny thing is, this was one of the points by KS. This is one of the things Kevin Samuels kept saying. He kept preaching like, why not go back to your baby daddy? You already made a kid. Make it work out. Make it happen.
Sometimes you just can't. Sometimes you just can't, right? Sometimes you're just like, no, I can't. I can't.
Mm-hmm.
Um, in theory, it sounds nice, but in reality, mm-mm.
Like a lot of homes would be a lot better if people just found a way to reconcile. Like, we're gonna make this work.
Sure, of course, it would be so much better if people can try it and stick together. But again,
Yeah.
speaking from experience, it does not always work like that, and it's always the man's fault.
Oh, of course.
I joke. Okay, so then now that brings me to our sort of next swing of it is Tracy Ellis Ross.
Right.
She was on Michelle Obama's podcast, in my opinion. I think that's the name of the podcast. And now they're sort of comparing her and her statement to Shannon Sharp, which I think are like not even in the same area code. And you and I had
No.
this no, I was gonna say you and I had this conversation where you were like, well, why is it okay for women but not men? And I'm like, well, women are intentional about us dating younger men. There's a reason why women date younger men or prefer younger men. I feel like for men, has to do with a lot like physical. For women, it's not necessarily all physical. There's emotional and there's like support, right? Women are emotional creatures. We want a man that's going to support us, that's going to lift us up, that's going to, be there for us, that's going to be our shoulder to cry on, things like that. I feel like for men, it's just mostly about like, number one is maybe procreate, and then it's, she look hot, she got to be a trophy wife, or whatever it is, I got to show her off to my friends. It's just very superficial for men, and the reason why they date younger women, in my opinion. So I agree with I in a sense agree with what Tracy said. So this is what she said. She's 52 years old, so let me start with that. And this is the reason why she says she dates younger men. And she didn't specify as to how young.
I'm assuming at best she's talking about 30s, and to save face, she didn't say numbers. She could have easily told us the numbers. The fact that she didn't, she understood it's probably too young.
Okay. This is what she said. She says, a lot of men my age are steeped in a toxic masculinity and have been raised in a culture where there is a particular way that a relationship looks. I completely agree. She said, anything that starts to smell of that for me, I did enough of it where I was controlled and felt like I was a possession or a prize. I just have no interest in it and I will not do it again. The dating age. How young is too young?
I think it depends. I think that if you're much older, you should not go younger than 30. If you are, say, obviously, for example, like a person who is 20 should not be dating somebody who's 15, right?
That's
That would
why.
be that would be completely wrong. But in the case of a very big age gaps, like you should go younger than 30. Like if you're a person in your
Okay.
50s or
So
60s,
if
don't
you're
go
in your
younger than 30.
50s, the youngest you can go is in your 30s.
Yeah,
It's
like don't go
30s.
younger than 30. Don't go
Okay.
younger than 30.
Okay.
Because I think for everybody on some level can say they're both of sound mind once you reach the age of 30. You can't be played or tricked or whatever the case may be. By 30, you should have some independence. You shouldn't be in need of anybody. You should be able to walk away. So I think like the youngest, if you're much older, is if you are, say, obviously, for example, like a person who is 20 should not be dating somebody who's 15, right?
That's
That would
why.
be that would be completely wrong. But in the case of a very big age gaps, like you should go younger than 30. If you're still younger than say younger than 40, you should probably not go. 25 should be your youngest if you're say close to 40.
Okay.
25 should be your youngest.
It's just very superficial for men, and the reason why they date younger women, in my opinion. In a sense, agree with what Tracy said. And she acknowledges that her comments on the overgeneralization of it, but she said she has a difference and an openness with younger men. And she goes on to say, I have long been past the age where I felt like it's my job to teach somebody or grow them up. That's that I'm not interested in. I really like what she also said. She said something in the along the lines of, I'm a whole person. I come into this as a whole person. I know who I am. I live a great life. I know the life that I have. I don't need I don't need a man to come in and try to take control or tell me what to do or whatever, like, or help me financially. Like, that's not what I need. I want a man that is also in his own wholeness, and we both come in with our wholeness together, and so and then go and support and build from there. But I don't I don't want a man to control me or tell me what to do, or treat me like a some kind of a trophy or a possession or whatever. And that's why I say, women, when we go into relationships, it's very emotional for us. It's how a man makes us feel. What do you think about what she said? What are your thoughts on it? And is there a double standard to it being okay for a woman to date a younger man, but when men do it, it's sort of seen as gross and not kosher?
Well, again, because women want to make it sound like their choices are more authentic or genuine or honest. You know, I don't remember the part where she started saying that she chose these younger men because of an emotional connection. The first thing she said, or one of the earliest things she said, was that they're young and hot.
Yeah.
That's what she said to Michelle Obama, and that's when Michelle Obama stopped her because she wanted to hear more. So to say that women aren't thinking the same way men are, they're not thinking in terms of looks or feeling youthful again or feeling wanted. I don't believe that.
Well,
Who
I
doesn't want a
don't think that's
connection?
not it either, right? And I even
Yeah,
said this to you. I said a lot of women go for younger men because it makes them feel young and it makes them feel
yeah,
youthful.
yeah. So when men want those same feelings, they're shamed and shunned and demonized for being just as human. Men desire connection too. Um, I would say, especially as we get older, we want the same thing too. That doesn't change. It's just that I think that for men, it is more acceptable and feasible for them to go for younger than it is for women.
I guess my thing is, I don't understand why some men have an issue dating women in their own age bracket.
Well,
And a lot of it has to do with what you talked about, where I don't know if I should say this or not, but to me it feels like men go for younger women because they can easily mold them and control them into what they want, or their idea of their the relationship that they want, right? A lot of
sure.
men that a lot of things that we hear is, women that are older or are, oh, they don't, they feel like they don't need a man, or they're too put together, or they they don't want a man that to control them, or whatever it might be, right? They don't need a man, blah blah blah, whatever sort of stereotype that they throw on women who have a whole life, who have a career, who are financially responsible for themselves, who don't need a man in a traditional way of, I need him to take care of me, or I need him to pay my rent, or I need him to whatever, right? But I want a man, because I want to build a life with him. I want to be emotionally connected with another person. I want to find that friendship and that love and that support in other ways that not necessarily has to do with financial security. um And I feel like that's a problem for a lot of men, because if they feel like, oh, a woman doesn't need them, then there's something wrong with her. Like, why can't you be secure in your own masculinity and you as a man, and know that your woman chooses you. She wants to be with you because she chooses you, not because of what she can get out of you, or what because you can do for her, but because of who you are as a person and your, again, wholeness, and she's choosing to come to the table knowing that, yes, I, like I can do it for myself, but I want this man. I want to be with this man. I want to build with this man. Why is that such a problem?
I don't think it's a problem for at least high value men or the men that she's truly looking for because
And that's another
if
thing, right?
you
Like, sorry, I don't mean to cut you off, but when you constantly say high value man, the only thing that makes a man a high value man is just the money that he has. That's it.
if that's what you believe, I mean, I don't know what
Let's
a high value man is to her.
Well, okay, when you say high value man, what do you mean? Do you not just mean financially?
No, but I have to know what she wants, and I'm assuming it's not the guy who works the register at Costco. I'm assuming it's not him that she wants. I'm assuming she wants men of a certain status, income, lifestyle, behavior. Like I'm assuming that's what she wants,
Mhm.
and she probably can't get that as she used to. She doesn't have access to it as she used to. And the thing is, she was saying how these men are stuck in their toxic masculinity. Let's give her that. Let's say that's true. I would have to ask her, what are you stuck in? Are you perfect? Is there something off or wrong about you?
Why does that
Right?
something have to be wrong and off about her?
I'm just saying, like, you're telling me that when you come into a relationship, you're perfect in your ways. Are you able to compromise? Are you able to bend? Because you could say at that point in your life, okay, like there's something wrong with some of these men
Mhm.
because you are still at your prime, you still have time, etc. But at her age, really, what is the excuse? Is it the men or is it her at her age? Because a lot of the commentary is she had every advantage, every opportunity. She was the daughter of Diana Ross. She was exposed to things. So how is it that you didn't find this man? And those were good questions.
Dating is hard, regardless of who you are, right? Like average regular Joes like us talk about, and Jane, I guess, we talk about like, oh, it should be easy for someone like her to find somebody because she has all these doors and opportunities to meet people. Her career, her lifestyle, puts her in proximity to, high profile men or decent men, whatever. Like her man pool is unlimited. But it is hard to find somebody because you don't know if they're coming to the table for the right reasons. And that's universal. Doesn't matter who you are. You could be, a successful lawyer or a successful office person or a successful actress. It doesn't matter. Finding somebody who really is coming to the table with genuine intentions is really, really hard.
If you as a woman say you don't need a man, you got to figure out what that means. Not us as men. We're just taking what you say as it is. You said you didn't need me. Okay. I accepted that. That removed any urgency for me to get to know you, date you, take care of you, because you told me you don't need me to do those things, right? You told me that when you said you didn't need me, it meant that there's no need for me to rush if you have a problem because you can take care of it by yourself. But then if I don't help you, then you hold it against me. But then you said you don't need me. So you got to make it make sense, not me.
Maybe I'm looking at it too narrowly. To me, when a woman says, "Well, I don't need you," I don't think it just necessarily means that I don't necessarily need your money. I don't necessarily need you to take care of me financially. I don't necessarily need you to, like I'm not a damsel in distress, but I do want you in my life. I want you to be my, emotional support. I want you to be my protector. I want you to, to if we have children, I want you to be a great father and a great husband and all of these things. But I can stand up on my own 2 feet as well. That's what that means to me. Like if, God forbid something happens to you tomorrow, I'm not solely dependent on you to the point where I can't function if something happens. I don't want to speak for all women, but at least for me, that's what that means to me. Of I'm not solely, codependent on you to the point where, if something happens to us and we break up or whatever, I'm not starting back from square one of like, oh my God, this man has been taking care of me, taking care of everything, done everything, handled everything, and now I don't know where to start. Am I looking at it like too
I'm,
deeply, or?
I'm glad you gave an explanation. I would say that, you know, how many women have gone out their way to explain that, because again, it's like we as men are taking your words exactly as they are. You say you don't need me, okay, I accept that, but then you have to accept the consequences that come with that, right? Um, and when it comes to Tracy Ellis Ross's statement, somebody made a comment and said that in reality she's in rebellion towards traditional men. And I felt that that was more in line with the truth than anything else she's saying. She wants to be in rebellion towards these men that she wants, but they're not willing to compromise on certain things because they're at the position that they are. You know, I'll give this example. You consider yourself a beautiful woman. You have your beauty routine and everything like that. You know how to uh, make yourself look attractive.
Mm-hmm.
Now, imagine a man, he approaches you, you guys get to know each other, and now he wants to control the way you look or give you advice on the way you look. Is that his business at this point?
No.
Right? Because the way you look already brought him in.
Right.
You know that your look can open doors, so why do you need more advice on how you look? You don't. And I would say the same thing with some women. It's like you have this successful guy. He already knows about success. He doesn't need your advice about success. You
Mm-hmm.
can give it, but he doesn't need it. He
Mm-hmm.
doesn't need a partner in that. He doesn't need you to teach him anything else. He already knows how to build his success. He needs you for other departments.
Mm-hmm.
He might need you to maintain the home. He might need you to maintain the children. And you may not want to rock with that. All right, but that's what he wanted, so he's going to go for somebody else. You know, I would say with people who are successful, they just have a routine and they're not trying to bend it or break it for anyone, especially if it's unreasonable.
Yeah. And another thing that people like to kind of throw at her is, well, she's 52, she has never been married, she doesn't have kids. And I think my thing is this sort of thing that society throws on women, that by a certain age you have to have kids and you have to have been married at least once. And it's like, where, like, why? Like, why is it that women are constantly being shamed for not being married and for not having kids by a certain age? Like, who made this up?
They're not being shamed. The ones that are being shamed are the ones who wanted to be single. They weren't thinking about getting married, and then later on in life they regretted it. And that was Tracy Ellis Ross's words.
Hmm.
You know, just a couple years ago, I think 5 years ago, she was on Oprah, and she was saying to Oprah, "I'm the chooser." Right? She was saying this like it was a flex. I
Yeah,
choose who I want to be
I
with.
think she said she chose not to have kids and she chose not to get married.
No, but then later on in that episode with Michelle, she says she regrets it or she feels this grief for not having children and not getting married.
Mm-hmm.
So I think society kind of shames or says, you know, I told you so behavior, because way back when you were the one saying you don't need a man, you're not thinking about having kids, you're not thinking about those traditional paths, and then 20 years later, now you're regretting it. You
Mm-hmm.
got your career, but you have no one to share it with, and you can only chase a career for so long. A career can only make you happy for so long.
That's true.
Yeah. But I do think more along the truth is that she is in rebellion towards traditional men. Because again, like, I know you're not going to like this, right? But I'm going to bring up KS.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness.
Kevin Samuels.
Oh my goodness. Here we go.
But something he said, the funny thing is, Kevin Samuels said this. He said to the men, if you're going to go after a certain kind of woman, you got to bring your A game. You
Mm-hmm.
can't, like, if you're going after a high value woman, you can't take her to Olive Garden.
Right.
Like, and no one got mad at this. high value women, you got to bring high value behavior. So the same would go both ways. Like, okay, ladies, you want a high value man, bring high value behavior. You got to bend according to his will if that's what you want. That's how it works. So it just seems to me like she wasn't willing to bend to his will, and that's okay. Um, y'all could go your separate ways, but then to call it toxic masculinity, I feel like that might have been a stretch.
And then I think the other thing also is young people in general have are more open-minded, right? Like they, especially like the generation above, not above, under millennials. Like I feel like they are, it was called Gen Z. That's,
Yeah,
yeah.
Gen X, yeah, Gen Z, yeah.
Yeah, something like that. I feel like they are more they're more open-minded, and they're more willing to try and experience different things. Men that are of a certain or particular age, they're stuck in their ways. It's either you do it like this, or it's, it's either their way or no way at all. They're not
But
willing to bend. They're not willing um to adapt. They're not willing to change.
well,
And
here's the thing.
yeah.
I'm sorry to cut you off, but it's like that's every generation.
Hmm.
Young people always start off more open minded, more willing to accept this, that, or the other. Like that was all of us. Like think about it. When you were young, there's certain behaviors you accepted from your boyfriends that you would never accept now because of experience. So
Hmm.
all of us, as we get older, we get set in our ways, and I feel like that's a better word to use than say toxic masculinity because it was like her way of putting the blame on the man and not really looking at herself.
Mm-hmm.
And this is why I bring it back. And I apologize to any fans listening, but however, Kevin Samuels, he did have a point. You look at a video he had 5 years ago about Tracy Ellis Ross, he predicted this exact scenario. This has been circulating where he said, yes, Tracy Ellis Ross still looks good for her age. She looks great. But likely she's only going to be able to find younger men because guess what? Younger men, they don't have any expectations. It's easy to say that younger men are more open minded. Well, what do they want from you?
Hmm.
And I'll tell you this like, when a man wants to be with you, he's going to have expectations. That's reality. If a man is not taking you seriously, he's not going to expect anything from you. He's not going to want anything from you. He's not going to bring up conversations about family and children be unless he wants to be with you. And if that's the case, he's going to have certain rules. So when
Hmm.
Tracy Ellis Ross says, "Yo, these younger men, they don't have any expectations," I'm like, that makes sense if they're not looking to marry you. And I would say this, I would ask you this: when you will see some of these older men on the red carpet with their younger girlfriends, probably because they're serious with them. When have you seen Tracy Ellis Ross on the red carpet or in public with any of these younger men? If it was something serious.
I mean, generally, I don't even think we know who she dates. Like, she doesn't really share
Exactly.
her personal life like that.
But if she had a man that met her criteria, was her age and everything like that, I'm sure we would know about him. I'm
Hmm.
sure she would take him out for the public to see. And again, if she was serious about any of these young men and they were serious about her, she would bring him out in public so the world could see. But the fact of the matter is that you haven't heard of any, I haven't heard of any. So I would say on some level, she knows these young men, they're not looking for anything long term. They're not looking to probably start a family. Like realistically, in her age bracket, she probably could not have children.
Hmm.
So if the young man knows that, why would he ask her anything serious? Why would he have any expectations if he knows it's not going anywhere?
I mean, what can I say? I think at least for me, an acceptable age gap would be 10 years.
Hmm.
Anything more than 10 years, I don't know.
Hmm.
Like we've seen 20, 25, 30 year, that, that's a little too much. I feel like 10 years is a good rule of thumb,
Hmm.
acceptable age gap.
Well, well, we're talking about, let's say, unacceptable age gap, but still like
50 and
okay,
19 is unacceptable. Okay.
right? No, more. I
That's
mean, like, yeah, like in that case, yeah. What's it? like I said earlier, if you're very much older, you should not go younger than 30. I don't think anybody would care much or even notice a 10-year age gap.
No, no, they wouldn't. And that's what I'm saying. Like if we talking teens, no, no teens. Okay,
Never.
never, never at all. For men and women, not acceptable. Okay, let those teens grow up. But yeah, yeah, no. If their what is it, frontal lobe has not developed yet, you have no business being with them.
Yeah.
At all. So we've, was it Cher? Cher is dating a younger man now.
Yeah, like another one,
Like,
30 years.
yeah.
Age
So
gap.
we've seen women do it. We've seen men do it. It's gonna continue to happen. Like that's just it. But
Who's that one actor? I don't know. I don't think it's Robert De Niro, but it's like one of those guys.
Leonardo DiCaprio,
Not Leonardo DiCaprio, but another
does
one. He had a baby
he?
with a 29-year-old, and he's like 50 years older than her.
Oh, who? I mean, there's a couple of them. I'm trying to think. Is it Robert De Niro?
It's not Robert. He might be one, but I know there's another one who,
Is it Mick Jagger? No.
not Mick Jagger, not Joe Pesci. It's one of those guys. They all from that same era.
I mean, there's a lot of
Yeah,
them. There's a whole lot of
but
them.
they're able to like get away with it. They're able to get their applause. Like no one gets mad.
Well,
But
all
here's
right.
my biggest issue. Here was my biggest issue with this Tracy Ellis Ross thing,
Okay, here we
and I'm
go.
gonna probably get in trouble for this. Why was Michelle Obama there?
What do you mean? She
Why
could
is she there?
gossip.
Why? I don't. I feel like this is kind of beneath her. That's what I feel. I feel like these kind of conversations are beneath her.
Michelle is still a woman, okay? Women like, we like to gossip. We like to hear from other women. We like to, live vicariously. She's been married for almost 30 years. So I'm sure she likes to hear the single dating life scene and
Yeah,
you
she
know,
was all giddy in it.
look, y'all need to leave Michelle alone, okay? She told y'all need to leave her alone and mind y'all business. So leave her alone,
But then
okay?
she invited us to her podcast to hear her business. I just feel like she don't need to really be a part of these kind of conversations.
Why not?
This is beneath her.
Come on. Like Michelle she's a woman, okay? Women, we like to talk. This is what we do. Okay? We like to talk to our girlfriends about who they're dating, what's going on and all that, especially if they're married, okay? She can't be dipping her toe in that water no more, okay? So now she just got to listen to the stories of her single friends.
Yeah, girl.
That's it.
I
Like
can
that's
imagine. I can
all.
imagine. And I just part of me, I can't wait till Barack has his podcast.
Oh my
He gets to
god.
tell us what he really thinks. Because I'm a little offended for him when Michelle said she finds him annoying or hates him sometimes, or like they didn't get along for 10 years. And I'm like, I need to hear his side of the story now.
Oh, here we go. Here
Because I
we
know
go.
the grass is not greener. I know there has to be something about her that
Y'all
he
need to
finds
leave Michelle
annoying.
alone, okay? She's just saying her truth. Like all she said was, there's been times where, he gets on her nerve. Like that's her husband, okay? She sees Barack as her husband.
But
We
here's the
all see
thing.
Barack as, our president and, he's Barack to he's Barack Obama. But to her, that's her husband. And married people go through stuff. Like, would you rather her say, "Oh my God, my marriage has been perfect for the last 30 years. We never fight. We never do it." Like that's unrealistic.
I would say I would rather her say nothing than to um talk about her marriage in a way, but then know that he can't do the same. Because he doesn't get to go on any sort of TV show or anything like that to say anything disparaging about his wife. He
Look,
always
I
says
don't,
he
I
always
don't
says
think.
he always says how perfect she is. Name one negative thing he's ever said about her. And it would be nice if you're going to say for 10 years I didn't like him, it would be also fair if you said, well, there were times I was the problem or I was difficult, where I knew I was the issue.
She
then I would be
has
like, that's
acknowledged
fair.
that. I think she
Has
has
she?
acknowledged that.
You
Yes.
think now? You think that, or you know? Because
Look,
I didn't see that clip. You got to show me that one. If you could show me the clip where she said that day I was being so difficult with him and he had to put up with me, I'll give you $100.
look, Michelle has said that the reason why she has said a lot of these things is because she feels like young people give up in relationships, right? Like whenever things start to go, go rough patch, or whenever things are not going well for in relationships, people tend to give up. And so I think her point was, it's okay to work on, like, relationship is work. The like, you see me and Barack as these relationship goals, but you don't know the hard work that has gone into it. She said, when they had kids, with her working and raising their kids and all that, she said that, yeah,
Uh huh.
he was annoying to her a couple times, right?
She
And she
said
said,
she was like a
if they've
single
been married
mother.
30 years and 10 of those years were rough and there were rough patches, the other 20 were great. That's an A+ marriage right there, okay? So, look,
And this is what I mean. She speaks to a crowd of women, most probably female audience, that will convince themselves the man is the problem, but she was strong enough
I
to
don't
speak it
think she
through.
said Barack is the problem. She never said he was the problem. And I think she did say that. She said that, there were hormones involved with her, and there were times where, she was handling and doing too much. So I don't think she ever came out and said, "Oh, he was the problem and he was doing things to annoy her and she's just like perfect person." She never said that. Okay? At
I
all.
really need this podcast with Barack. I need him to get on a podcast with a single high value man who talks about dating younger women, and Barack just, yeah, boy, yeah, my man. I hope so. I need that episode, and I want to see
Oh
how
my
people react.
goodness.
I want to see how, like, they be like, Barack, how could
I
you?
hope they
How
tear
could
you
you
up in the comment
condone?
section. Okay. I really hope that our listeners just tear you up in the comment section.
And
Okay.
see, you hoping there's some sort of attack. I'm asking for there to be balance. If you're going to talk about your marriage, if I would ever talk about my marriage, I would talk about myself first, what I've done wrong,
Mhm.
and before I talked about what my spouse did. And I would hope that before I say anything about my marriage, I would ask my wife's permission first.
How do you know she didn't ask his permission?
I'm not saying she didn't. I'm not saying she didn't. I just hope that she did. Because that to me is like, that should be like, a ground rule. If you're going to talk about our marriage, especially on public, especially where it's recorded, let me know first.
Again, how do we know they didn't talk about this?
I didn't say that. I just hope that's what happened.
Okay. I don't see this. I don't appreciate you coming on this show and talking about, like, this was established day one. We do not disparage Michelle Obama. Okay.
Who's disparaging? I'm
We do
telling you
not
what the woman
disparage
said.
Michelle Obama.
This is what
Okay.
the woman said.
She is sacred. Okay.
Who
We do
who
not
who
talk
who
about
this?
her in a bad light.
No one is disparaging Michelle Obama. We're just asking legitimate questions here. You
Mm-hmm.
know,
Mm-hmm.
the
Okay.
real topic is obviously Tracy Ellis Ross, and
How did Michelle get into this?
well,
Okay,
she was
we're
the
talking about
host.
Tracy.
I was just surprised that she was the one part of that conversation.
Look, let Michelle be Michelle. Okay, leave her alone. Okay, we were talking about Tracy, not
Now
Michelle.
you want
Michelle
to
is
you
a
want to
happily married woman,
you want to
despite
make
what
it
the
so
internet is trying to say. Okay.
it. Oh man, they,
Despite
they
the
actually talked
internet.
about that on the Breakfast Club. It was like, should she be obligated to do
First lady roles.
first lady roles, and
No, she's not first lady anymore.
former first lady? Like what? Because I would assume like there's still going to be expectations, and I would say she can say no.
She
You
could say
know,
no.
she could
She's
say
not the
no for
first lady.
sure.
Look, just let's touch on this a little bit, right? Because people literally told her that she's getting a divorce and started rumors about her and her marriage because she skipped the inauguration. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
she chose not to go because she does not want to see. She didn't want to be in that space.
Mm-hmm.
She said it was not good for her. She had fulfilled her obligations as first lady. She doesn't want to be there. She doesn't want to be there. No one is asking the current first lady why she don't go places. I just feel like they give Michelle so much grief, and it's like we have a current first lady who we never see at all. Why people are not talking about that?
The
Michelle was
inauguration.
always by Barack's side every single time as she was first lady. Can we say the same about our current situation? No, we cannot.
What I'm saying is, in agreement with you, she can say no. As far as the inauguration, she didn't have to show up to that one because, as somebody stated, Trump didn't even come to Biden's inauguration when he won the election last time.
Exactly.
So that's fair. But I do wonder why she didn't go to, I think it was Jimmy Carter's funeral.
Because of the seating arrangement.
Hmm.
Because of the line of was it procession, she will always and forever be seated next to him. And she doesn't want that. So why put herself in that environment knowing that it's not good for her and she doesn't want to be around this person who has talked so much crap about her and her husband and their family, like why would she want to be around that?
And this is where I would say you got to swallow that pride because, like,
No, she
it
doesn't.
wasn't about him. And again, she has the right to say no, but then you can't control the backlash that comes from it. Um, the funeral was about somebody else. It wasn't about who you were sitting next to. So in that case, I feel like she should have gone to that funeral as a former first lady,
Look, I've
leader of the
learned through
country.
therapy
She's the one.
boundaries are important. Okay,
She's
if
the
I
one who said. She's the one who said, "When they go low, we go high."
no, that's out the window. Okay, that's
She
out the window. We don't go
she
by
said
that
her. She's exactly. She took that back, right?
anymore.
So
We don't
she
go
said
by
she's
that
tired of
anymore.
going so high. Listen. She started that trend. She was the one who said it. A lot of people took that to heart, and now you decide to change your mind. I feel like that's a bit unfair. You can't always change your mind, but the thing is, again, as a former president, as a former first lady, you have expectations. The standards are higher for you, so you really
Does
can't
she,
say
as a
no.
former first lady, does she still have certain roles and expectations she has to do?
Yeah,
She's
I
not in,
mean,
her husband's not in office anymore. They're not in
no,
office.
no one has to do anything. No one has to do it. I agree with you because she has full independence as a person. But I would still say, like, as the former leaders of the free world, you know, that can't be the case. I think she should have gone to that funeral. I don't hold it against her, but that's something that would have been like, nah, we got to do this because we got to show solidarity and patriotism. This was a former president, former leader of our country, and we should at least show respect. Um, everything else, I can understand why she said no to, but this one, I'm like, nah, she should have been there.
I get it. I've been in rooms where I didn't want to be in, all because I couldn't say no.
Yeah.
And no is a full sentence. And it's okay to say no. And the older you get, the more you are aware of your own well-being and your own agency, and you're like, I don't want to be around certain people, I don't want to have certain energies around me, I don't want to be in a situation that makes me uncomfortable. So as a whole person, I'm going to say no,
Hmm.
and that is okay. And she's a private citizen now, and she's exercised her right as a private citizen
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
say,
No doubt. No doubt.
no, I'm good. And that's it. And all I'm saying is, again, there's a double standard because we have a current first lady that is never in public, and people say nothing. Okay. And as far as I could remember, Michelle was always by Barack's side every single time when they were in office. So she did her job, she did her obligation. Leave her alone.
That was bother her.
That's it. Okay, you always talking stuff about her. Leave her
Oh my
alone.
goodness, you are exaggerating.
Stop being a hater.
You
Okay.
are exaggerating. God forbid we could talk about everybody but Michelle. I thought this was a podcast where we talked about everybody, but not
Everybody is
Michelle.
up for grabs except Michelle. Okay, that's it. All right, everyone. We are going to end it here right now. Okay, before my co-host says more disparaging things about the Michelle Obama. No. Okay. Well,
I just can't stop laughing about Kevin Samuel's comments.
all right, we're gonna go. Thank you so much, guys, for listening to us. Make sure you check us out on our YouTube. This is going to be, if you're listening on the audio, make sure you go check us out on YouTube. We have the full video up there as well, from our last video and this one as well. And check us out on social media at Foreign Lady Pod. And if you want to email us and just say hello, you can email us at theforeignladypodcast@gmail.com. All right, everyone. Thanks, and have a good week.
I love you, Michelle.
We love you, Michelle. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to this episode of The Foreign Lady.
If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to rate, like, and subscribe wherever you listen to the podcast.
Follow us on social media at The Foreign Lady Podcast on Facebook and Instagram.
Email us at theforeignladypodcast@gmail.com. See you next time.